All right, once again, coming at you live. Elisa and Heath, here we go.
Okay.
How do you feel?
I'm good. How was your weekend? You were away this weekend, weren't you?
I did. I had the great fortune of taking off for the weekend.
Yeah, it was your girlfriend's
Michelle's
birthday.
birthday,
His beautiful girlfriend.
Yeah,
Dad.
Oh, she is.
Did you guys have fun? I saw
We
some
had a great
pictures.
time. It was awesome.
You all looked beautiful.
I mean, we just, we'd already gone on this big long trip. We kind of did an early trip for her birthday because last year we had, done a little dive down to Costa Rica and went up to my friend's luxury inn and, just kind of filled up, on all the goodness of Costa Rica and got to show her my favorite beaches. And we knew that was going to happen this year. And we didn't necessarily need to make it a ritual, but once again, in the middle of all the COVID and all the, just kind of being locked in, we knew it was good for us and sane for us to make her birthday a great excuse for us to just get out there and get on the road.
So nice. What'd you do?
So this weekend we went down to Miami and got a little place down South Beach and went to Katsumi's for dinner and rode bikes. We brought our bikes down, and one of the birthday gifts that I got her was just rigged up her bike more, like bike pump and lights.
So
and
cute. I love
all that kind of stuff, right? It was
That's
just,
so fun.
So yeah, and kickstand. It didn't have a kickstand, so now it has a kickstand. And it was great. So
I love it.
We had this big bike rack that we put in the back of the Suburban, drove down to Miami Beach. Rode along the
You
boardwalk.
guys are cute.
We got to sit around and just kind of sat in the hotel room a lot and played dominoes in bed, watching Dateline. And,
that's fun.
Jeopardy apparently is one of her favorite shows, and I didn't know that. And so as we were getting ready for dinner, Jeopardy was on because we were just watching like normal local hotel TV. And so now she's naming off Jeopardy things, and I got to know a little bit more about her that way, right? And she's
fun.
like, "Wow, how did you know to do Dateline and Jeopardy in the hotel room for me? My two favorite shows, right?" I'm like, "I didn't. Thank God, someone out there is looking out for me." Right, so yeah,
that's so fun.
So it was really cool, and we we enjoyed the buzz. I think we have to remind ourselves when we get up here in this Naples area, it's real quiet, and it's like I forget that you kind of like a little thump in the lobby and people moving around and fancy cars and people watching, and so yeah, we had a great weekend.
That's so great. That's so nice. You guys are good at that. I feel like and actually, it actually goes into what we want to talk about tonight, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, definitely. It really is.
But it is. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. You guys are a good example of the yumminess of our topic tonight.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, so what's our topic tonight?
Right.
You're very good at explaining.
Right. Well, I think we were kind of like looking at how to maintain or how to nurture sanity and sustainability in your relationship, right? We kind of left off.
Say that again.
Sanity.
Yep.
Right. I think for one.
Yeah.
Because I think, I won't belabor it, but sanity.
Right.
And sustainability.
In a relationship.
In a relationship.
Yep.
Right. I mean.
That's great.
And there's, obviously we're just going to just go tackle it like we always do and see what we flush out here. But it sounds sexy. I like sanity and sustainability in a relationship.
Yes.
That works for me.
How does that happen?
How does that happen? Yeah.
That is a good one. So I guess one of the things I've heard you say before is, I think you call it your love tank, something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, I inherited that stuff from somewhere, but the love tank.
The love tank.
The love jar or whatever.
Yeah, or the bank account or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. That's part of the.
There's like it's theorized by a number of people out there, but as we all do, we just kind of adopt what we adopt, and it sinks in some way, and so. Yeah, I think, what I've gotten from it at a cursory view and how I've applied it is, as you're in a relationship, you ultimately know the kind of things that you can make gestures of love for your partner, even if you're busy or even if you're, not being self-absorbed or whatever you're going through.
Right.
That you have a mindfulness in your relationship to know that there's a metronome ticking to say, I've got to show up and just at least, ask how the day is, or
so the day in, day out
the
stuff.
day in and day out, right? Like and it's kind of like when they call it the love tank, right? It's like it's either full and you feel like or it's it's half drained and it needs some love, and you kind of build it. It's like you can see the little meter, right? The little LED from empty in your gas tank to full, right?
Yep.
Same concept, right? And so when your love tank is full. It not only allows you to maybe move more gracefully in your relationship, and feel more confident and feel more trusting and give it more air, so to speak. But it also kind of gives it, a place where if something crashes in the relationship for whatever reason, or you go through some hard bumps and some hard times, you've made an investment, right? You've made you put some inventory in place.
Yes.
That person can,
right.
That person can remember and say, you know what, I may not like you right now, but it is true that, I do feel love for you because you have been showing me love, and you've been putting it in and so our tank feels pretty empty right now, but it's been filled over and over,
so
and I do know that.
Do you think, a couple things came to mind when you were saying that. One is, I was wondering, do you have like favorite things that fill your love tank? And do you have specific things that to fill your girlfriend's love tank?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I'm definitive on it. I don't think I know definitively for her. It's kind of the journey.
Right. That's a good point.
And I'd love to say that I even knew for myself, right? But I don't necessarily think I do. I do know that anybody going out of their way for me, act of service kind of thing.
Act of service,
right?
yeah.
It certainly is. And that's typical for a lot of men.
So like if like, so it hits you particularly, like let's just say when Michelle makes you dinner.
Yeah, that kind of nurturing for me goes a long way.
Yeah, so that does.
Or picks up some coffee when we're out of it on the way through, and to do something else. It's like, I know you're out of coffee. I didn't want to leave you in the morning without it.
Oh,
even
I
though
love
she's
that.
heading back to her house or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
That's good.
And so whereby maybe letters for some people are a way that they really can receive or deliver love or whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
That doesn't really hit me, right? Like it's hard for me to read a letter. Although I just learned, over time with Michelle that, a birthday card, a well-written birthday card,
she likes
will land on her.
That's
right?
interesting. My son's like that. My son, like I will take the time to write a card, and I see him like really mindfully read it.
Yeah.
And it's really meaningful to him. Whereas I hate cards.
Yeah, I open the card. I'm like, it's so sweet. And I throw it in the box, right? And
like, what am I going to do with
I'll
this?
pull these out someday. And I just carry around with me all over the world.
Never.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It just doesn't land on me.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
Same.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's interesting. But I wonder, so in a long-term
love notes
relationship,
and things like that, right?
Love
I know
notes,
that. I've noticed that I didn't know that before, right? So when I almost say written, it doesn't work for me.
Right.
I have found that Michelle's been sweet enough, on several occasions to kind of leave me one of the little heart letter, notes on the bedside table. And we're crossing trains, so to speak, at the tracks, and
that's cute.
And I was like, I never really, knew that I would like that. But,
yeah,
but it tickled you. It's actually super sweet. I'm actually feeling the love.
That is super, but that's different than a card, like a birthday card, maybe. But
yeah. It just had to be like 5 words,
Right.
But it was just the fact that it was there, And I'm like a geek about it. Like I'll hang it up on the bathroom mirror for like a week. Something like that.
So awesome.
So that's one of those.
I love
vibes.
that.
Yeah.
That's really great. Yeah, I know that. I have like a weird thing with in the past, like when I've been married. First of all, I love flowers. I always love flowers. I love unexpected. They don't even have to be expensive flowers. They don't need to be roses or anything fancy, but I love getting flowers. Like to me, that like literally makes my eyes water.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But I oddly feel uncomfortable typically with gifts. Like flowers don't show up as a gift to me, but I have anxiety around gifts. I think part of it, especially at this point, I don't really want anything.
Right.
Right. So it's like,
there's an attachment
and what
that
if
comes with it or something?
Yeah. What if I
right?
don't like it?
Yeah.
Like I know what I like,
and I
don't
pretend like I like it,
and I don't want it unless it's. I'll take plane tickets for a gift.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's a good gift.
Yeah.
Like I like that, but an actual just a gift. It's so. I feel uncomfortable with it. It's not like it doesn't hit me as a love tank. It's more like a nuisance. And I probably shouldn't say that because I don't. I mean, maybe it would be nice to get a gift, but I don't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
The flowers, yeah.
It seems like flowers and the airplane tickets could be like an act of service for you as well, right? It's like somebody mindfully, went and got something that was like, more, I don't know, maybe it doesn't, it's not, just kind of it falls out of the gift category. You can see it as an act of service,
I think so.
I got this
That's
trip planned for you,
interesting.
and here's the tickets, or
Right.
These flowers are going to make your week better, but it's not a gift. It's a service to make your life a little bit happier over several days.
That's so
right?
interesting.
Because I also have an affinity for not liking gifts typically, right? And of course, it's very charming at some points when somebody gives you a sweet gift and a thoughtful gift, and it can get you in the gut kind of moment, but not often. I also I think somewhere in my upbringing or whatever,
that's so interesting.
Don't need the gifts.
And it's interesting. I think in a long-term relationship, like one thing my second ex-husband was good at was I did tell him early on my love for flowers, and I remember him saying to me, "Oh, I'm really glad you told me that because my previous wife hated flowers. She just thought it was such a waste of money because they die." And I was like, "Oh, I love flowers. If you ever wanted, you could go to Trader Joe's and pick up, you know, an $8 bouquet and bring it home, and it will go so far with me. So he was
lucky
good
guy.
at that.
I mean, that's like a good,
It
a good
is.
clue in, and
It's
it doesn't
and
take that much.
He was really good at that.
You can live into it.
Yeah, and he could live into that.
Yeah.
And he sometimes, and he would be good at surprising me, and sometimes they'd be beautiful. Like I remember once he just brought me like 3 dozen roses for no reason, which was so sweet. Oh my God, that was so lovely. So like I know that act fills my love tank, oddly enough.
And written word for you?
I don't know if anyone ever wrote me a little note. And it's funny, in the day of, this isn't what you mean because it's written, but in the day of texting and all this, it's like there's so many of notes that it doesn't land. But I don't know, maybe if I got in my car and there was like a sticky note that said have a beautiful day, sunshine or something. So cheesy. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah.
But cards, I like when someone says something to my face that hits me.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody wanted to take a walk on the beach, picked me up and said, let's go watch the sunset, and said something really beautiful, like that fills my love tank for sure.
Got it. You know, it made me think of like, you know, some of the ways that I think that I'm giving into the love tank, and I'm not even sure if it's landing on the other person.
That's great.
Right?
And that's a mixed message.
And it could very well be, right? You know, on both accounts, it's a mixed message, like rebounds back and forth like a boomerang, right? And so it's like, you know, for me, like one of the ways I do it, and I'm like, oh, she's going to feel love from this, right? And I go and fill up her, you know, gas tank when she's not expecting it, because I knew it was on empty.
Oh my God, that's so sweet.
You know, and then
I
maybe
love
go
that.
to, you know, wash the car and, you know, get her all ready for the next week, and come back and, you know, be like, yeah, here's your car, and everything's all handled. And to me, that's like
it just made me wet.
Did it? Okay,
kind of.
Well then, you know, but you know, it's like I'm assuming, right, that's like what is going to make the other person feel great. You know what I mean? And I, you know, in those cases, like I would just do that anyway. And I was just thinking, wow, I don't even know if that ever works or.
Do you know what that made me think? That's so smart, Heath, because you saying that is a really great point. I think that women in particular, we err on the side of not telling our partners what fills our love tank, and we make you play this weird guessing game. I mean, I grew out of that, but I know that has been an upset in my younger years, because I've heard it like, well, I don't know how to make you happy. And that's a thing I think, you know, that has come out of a lot of men's mouths, because if they love you, they want to make you happy.
Yeah.
That's how you're oriented. You want to fix it. Right.
So,
so yeah, if you don't know how and you're just trying these things and they're not landing, whose fault is it? Really, it's kind of the woman's fault for not saying like, hey, you know, I like flowers.
Right. I've always seen it like, you're in the jungle, baby. You know, like it's like you hear that Guns N' Roses song, and it's like that to me is the trying to figure it out, right? Like you definitely get breadcrumbs, but a lot of times, or you know, and as you get, like you said, as you get older, you get
Does
better.
Does it take the romance out? Do you think if you tell somebody?
I don't think so, but I think somehow the mystery is always something that people, and I guess we can talk about that too. I hadn't even thought about it, but you know, some kind of mystery in relationship that, you know, surprises.
Surprises. Some people hate surprises.
Right, exactly.
Do you know that?
Yes. Yeah.
I know. I have friends that literally hate surprises.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute no. And I think like, well, I love surprises, so I want to surprise them, and their spouse will be like, no surprises. I'm like, bummer. I like surprises.
Yeah, don't ever surprise me. That's not my thing.
It's not my thing. And they mean it. They don't like it. That's interesting though. And I is it exhausting when you're in a long-term relationship to keep filling the love tank with these things? Or
I think the more you kind of, if you can take the time to kind of start listing them, take notes, right? Like, and it seems so silly that you have to do this in your relationship, because it all should just kind of be working and playing perfectly. But I think, you know, this is where, you know, a lot of times we all like to know that our partner has listened to us, or has heard us, or is getting to know us on their own. You know, like, you know, making an effort. That's one of their ways of feeling the love, is that oh wow, he listened to me that time when I shared this, and he came back and surprised me with the fact that he not only got me what I wanted, but he listened enough to know that that's what I would like. That's a very touching thing for women, for sure. So. I know for sure. And so now I have kind of like a framework there, can go, okay, that's, you know, now I know I should be doing more of that. Does that go back in your direction as well? Like, what if you I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
don't think it's a gender or
okay.
anything. Yeah, I do. I think I feel the same way when I'm like, wow, that person really took the time to want to get to know me. And, it might, not liking gifts at Christmas, but they made sure they got me the one
Right.
that I would love. Right?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I could get over that and
Yeah.
love my gift and be like, that person really took the time to get to know me a little bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it easy for them necessarily either with my mixed messages and all my other stuff. Right.
Right.
And so you do, got to navigate it through with each other and, have some homework assignments and kind of keep it as I think a daily and weekly tasks list.
Yeah.
And it can get easy. You can repeat it. Like you said, sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going to go to my default and just grab some flowers. Right. Or
Right.
I'm definitely going to cook that cool dinner, or we're going to do a dinner date night, within the week, no matter what, we'll find the babysitter or do something like that.
I think, the repeat thing is helpful. Like
Repeat.
it doesn't get old, at least not for me. Like I said, with flowers, that never gets old. But I know even, for my son who's living with me right now for a little bit, he just graduated from college.
Mm-hmm.
But if he had a rough day or is having a rough week, I'll make his favorite dinner, and that's a way of filling a love tank, right?
Right, totally.
Like, and I'll text him like, I made your favorite dinner, and he's really touched. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, Mom,
Yeah.
you're the best, and he means it. Like,
Yeah.
he's so happy, and he feels so cared for.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm sure that works in relationships too. It's like if I, know my partner loves, something like shrimp stacks or something, and they're presented to him, then that's,
Yeah, I have kind of a weird metaphor for that, or in my mind, right? I was in the live television business for a long time, and you have 7 cameras that are all moving around to try to get the best shot, right? And so you're trying to get that magic, trying to get that gold shot, and hold it as long as you can and pan with it. But when it's not there on all the other 6 cameras, you have your safety cam in the very back.
Oh, that's so good.
And it just drops back into the safety cam, and you see the full
When in
stage.
doubt.
When in doubt, right? You just have a safety that you kind of know that you keep in your close pocket, and just drop your safety if you're feeling out of ideas.
That's great. I wonder, does that, because you and I, we need some people that have some long-term relationships. I wonder, does that still work after 15 years?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what I ask a lot of people, and
Yeah.
just even we had an opportunity. Michelle and I was sitting on the couch in the South Beach in the hotel front, and met a guy from Colombia who was a widower, right?
Oh.
And he said they were married for, I don't know, it sounded like 28 years, and she died young, cancer kind of thing. And he said, but it kept working because we kept kind of putting in the effort, and basically it sounded like what he was saying is we kept continually filling each other's love tank. And through them, a lot of that was communication, time
Right.
together kind of thing. And so when things got tough, that did help them. There was like a safety net that they had, it felt good at the time, but you start to maybe take it for granted. But then when things get tough, and then he also really said that what he liked is the rewards of relationship, right? Like the ability to really get to know his partner over years. And so he said, even after the hardest times, it got better.
Oh,
I was like, wow, right? Like,
that's
you're
nice.
going to get through the rapids, and that, this is the person you want to be on the other side of it with, even if, you're hating each other at that moment.
Right.
And so they had somehow found a way to kind of figure out these formulas and routines that kept them close, and intimate.
Right. So, I think, I'm feeling I feel a little left out. I'm noticing.
Tell me about that. Why is
Well,
that?
I'm noticing, I'm just listening to this, and I'm like, oh, I want that. And then I'm like feeling a little bitterness bubble up.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a bitter person,
I
but
thought
you
not.
know,
You
but
don't
I
even
do
look bitter
feel.
now. Yeah, I can see it.
But yeah, I think what I notice is that in some of my past relationships, there has been a filling of the love tank, as you're saying, nice gestures, flowers, dinners, connected, some trips, things like that.
Mm-hmm. So you think you would have a report card going on?
So yeah, but then it's sort of pickled with a lot of ugly around it.
Mm.
So I'll just speak about one particular relationship that I had for 6 years where there was an addiction issue in the mix, a very severe one. So when he was being ruled by his addiction, he would be very mean and nasty. And then when he'd feel bad afterwards, he'd be like, but, we had such a beautiful weekend last weekend when we went, to Providence. And I just, I just bought you that, beautiful necklace. And but I think sometimes what happens with people is they think that they can do nice things, and that gives them permission to be a giant mess. And they think that there's enough of a safety net of love to sustain the upset. And sometimes there's not, right?
It's a brilliant turn of the tables on the love
Sorry.
tank. Right? I love it. It's like
Alyssa
totally
bringing in the gloom and doom.
Switch the table right around. And it's when you were saying it, it's like, I hate to admit it, but like I've done that. Like I get that. Like I've bought into that whole story myself of, not necessarily through the big mess ups, right? But at least the annoyingnesses or whatever, or things that it could be, some make it or break it moments. And I've done the same thing. I found myself going, but wait a minute, I washed the cars, and I've, made the efforts for this and that. And I've, we are living this, and we just did this, and we just took that trip. How can anything be wrong, even though what the other person is saying is valid? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're just like, you don't want to, it's not just addiction. It's like anything. Like, wait, why do you have the opportunity to complain about something? Our love tank has been full.
I see.
And I'm like, but
how do we remedy that?
Like, how do you remedy that, right? Like I didn't even think about that until you just brought it up. But then now that I heard the other guy, I'm like, oh my God, I've been that guy. I know it never works.
Wow, that's a really brave of you to admit.
It sucks. I don't like it, but it's but I think that I'm hoping to learn to temper that a lot more, because I agree with you though. You can't. That should be just your bread and butter. The love tank, in my opinion. I guess that's what's just coming out for me now. You have to, tend the garden. It's like cliche, but every relationship, I think, from what I'm understanding, to maintain sanity and to maintain this kind of sustainability in it, and to continue to groom that, is you nurture it, right? And if you start taking anything for granted, it just goes away.
So to loop it back, to one of our previous podcasts, we were talking about, when is it time to let it go? Maybe one of those times is when your love tank is just continuously not filled. It's just drained, drained, and you're just always mopping up the floor of disappointments.
Yeah, how many people have said they're in a loveless marriage, or so that's what loveless feels like.
So, I just got chills with my own thought.
Yeah,
listen, I go. So maybe the way to rescue a failing relationship is to go to sit down and write, for two people to write their love language, or not their love language, but write how do you feel? How do I feel loved? Maybe. Yeah, I know it's sort of trendy right now, but what do I need from not what do I need from you? Because that sounds needy. It's not even that, really, is it? It's I feel so seen and understood and beautiful when you wash my car, and when I come home and there's flowers for no reason, and when we're watching TV and you rub my feet, I feel so loved, and I miss that.
Maybe a cheat sheet. Right, like maybe we have a cheat sheet, and whether it's at the beginning of a relationship.
Let's not call it cheat though, because cheat's a bad word in a relationship.
Yeah, no,
let's call it
okay, something else, right? I don't know,
it'll come to us, and it'll be our aha moment at the end.
But yeah, we kind of slide these little notes across the table and say, hey, I'm gonna give you a clue here.
Yeah.
You can kind of keep me pretty, sane,
right?
And
but I think they have to be doable. You can't be blowjob every night.
No, exactly. Or, buy me a fancy car on my birthday or whatever, right? We'll be getting along just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. These are like the real simple, pancakes on a Sunday at least once every 6 months or something, right? And
what
wear big socks, wear the long socks. I like that. Like that can make me feel loved.
Oh, that's cute.
These simple ones,
Empty the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Wow. I would cry tears of joy.
Exactly.
I would.
And I think that those are things that we could be clueless about for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I think navigating and getting those down and getting them noted, can give you the tools, and we've talked about them before, to kind of keep it grooving. So
here's an interesting thought.
Or maybe reinvent it or refresh it.
Yeah. So maybe instead of complaining, instead of stacking, you never clean up after yourself, you never give me flowers. So maybe it's part of that inventory conversation also, where it's, I really love when you like that. And it's that, cause that just makes me feel connected to you. Isn't it? It's like saying the same thing in a totally different mirror.
Yeah, no, I like it. It
Right?
actually just happened for me with Michelle and I up in Carolina, and we were hanging out with a good friend of hers up there, Rachel, and sitting around, and somehow we got chatty about, around the fire, like staring at the mountains, drinking
Sounds so
and
nice.
talking. It was very nice. So the whole plan was about, right? And it came about where, like, I had learned from, Michelle that she does like gifts, right? So here you and I are a little bit more averse to gifts. And of course, like I'm thinking when I go get items that are more like an act of service, like we said, like
Right.
a little easy, blanket tents for the house for her daughter or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's not so much a gift to her, right? But it's
Yeah.
like, but that's my idea of a gift, and it's, it's useful.
Right.
And so then, and so then she was sharing freely, like, this is, but I do like a little gifts here and there. Like they make me feel good. They make me feel like, you're really paying attention or whatever. It's just, that's my love. And that's how I like to see it sometimes.
And you didn't know. You didn't know.
But I didn't know,
Yeah.
right? I was like, she clued me in. And then I think, I was being a little rowdy with it. I'm like, oh, well, gifts, huh? Okay, then I, thanks for that clue. I guess I have been filling the love tank enough with the gifts. And like, I go to some, insecure place with it for a minute. And then Rachel like hits me on the head and she's like, she's cluing you in, bro.
Yeah.
Like, just,
Take
be
it.
thankful that she's giving you like a real deal clue here as to what she needs. And
like, this is good news. This wasn't like a bad thing. Yeah.
And so I had to really go both sides in my head at that one moment of, and then realize, okay, this is a good thing.
You brought up a good point, though, because I think for maybe a lot of men who want to fix it and solve it, it hits their ego. Maybe they take it negatively.
I think it does. I think it did. Obviously my reaction is it did, and I, wouldn't even think I'd be thinking that way. So obviously it's like deep seated in some of us, right? But once I grasped it, I was being thrown a bone here, that I was missing, that could really, help accelerate the whole, happy, path,
That's
in the
so
relationship,
great.
right? And so then I came right back home, and I don't know if I'd ever sent Michelle flowers in all the time that I've known her. And right away, I'm like, let's just get some flowers over her house. Let's start. And that was a gift mine. I didn't like go pick them out myself, but it was like, get gift in hand on the table right when we get back. I'm going to do this.
You're so coachable. I love
coachable.
that.
I think so.
That's great.
And so, and now I kind of find like, some joy in it, right? Like I'm like the gift idea of going out and picking out gifts that are, within our, our reason, our feasibility and all that. And over time, it actually kind of was like, well, that gives me something to do. It's kind of fun. I wouldn't do that for myself.
It's romantic,
it's
right?
romantic.
You get to be romantic.
Yeah,
you get to be the romantic guy. And here's an instruction booklet, how to be the romantic guy for your girlfriend.
And I need that.
That's everybody does, though. We all do. I think for sure. I mean, I think it's frustrating when you don't know how to please the other person, or when it seems like to please the other person, it's out of reach. Mm-hmm. If the only thing that is going to make me happy is a grand trip to Iceland, but it's COVID and nobody's going anywhere,
that's a no-win.
It's not fun. Nobody, it's just
That's
all
a no-win.
losing. So I think to keep the sanity part that you were talking about before, you need to have them doable. Doable things.
That's right.
Not grand gestures.
That's right.
Grand gestures are separate. That's like a whole other ball game. But and I don't think any of us can maintain a relationship that demands grand gestures.
No.
That's insane.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the opposite of sanity.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, and going back a little bit, it is cool, right?
Yeah.
I like that. And then going back to your kind of point and me kind of revisiting our first conversation about, my version of I do love tank the way I want to do love tank, right? Is kind of the first go-to. Until I start, getting more mature about it with a partner, right? But it's like, these are my ways of giving my love, and it doesn't matter if it lands on them or not. And so I'm, that's where you can, but you really feel like you're going way out of your way, and that this is what love looks like for you. So if, if they don't understand that this is your way of showing love, then shame on them, and you can take that total, persona and approach.
Right.
And that's why you can find yourself in an argument where whether you messed up or whether they, something went wrong, you can feel entitled to be like, oh, no, I've been going way out of my way loving you. You know what I mean? Like, I've given you the kind of love that I know I was capable of giving. And they're like, oh, that's love? really, or I got some of that, of course. I noticed your gestures, but that doesn't give you the right to, shit on me right now, or it doesn't give you the right to, be out of integrity, or it doesn't give you we have to address that individually, right? This love tank can't save that stuff.
No.
To your point. And I think that was really fun to bring up, right? This is more, I figure like exercise, like regular exercise to keep the sustainability thing going. And to keep giving it momentum.
Right. You can't.
But you can't save, anything with a major, out of integrity.
You can't Ike Turner your way out of it. You can't be like, I'll just beat you up. Here's a mink coat. No, no, doesn't work that way. But yeah, and it's funny because I can remember in that 6-year relationship when we'd have a really rough weekend of, his abusing substances and acting out inappropriately. And then he would feel bad on Monday. But I can remember one particular time after a bad weekend, he came home with 3 dozen yellow roses, which would normally give me joy. And he handed them to me. And I remember he had to go up the stairs from our garage to get into the house. And he handed it to me, and I literally whipped them down the stairs.
Just get these out of my face.
Yeah. It's like, too late.
Not this time.
No, this is not.
That doesn't even get a token in the jar.
It's not retroactive. You have to fill it first. You don't get to be like a big, giant maniac and then think, I'm going to fill the love tank with yellow roses. It doesn't really work that way, though.
That really triggered I think a pretty tragic story in my childhood.
Oh, wow.
Right? I mean, not in a bad way, but
okay.
realizing that it applies to also, family. It's not just an intimate relationship.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It applies to father-son. It applies to father-daughter. It applies to mother, all the members of the family, right? So I'll give this one up. It's not, it's been a long time ago, right? But I was in 5th grade, and we had just moved to a new town, and my mom had gone on her way to get a couple mothers together to, throw this little sleepover party for me for my birthday at that time. And so, this, of course, was very exciting, and and so all my friends are there, and we're having a good time. And, my dad actually calls on this birthday. And so I've got this one memorable birthday where I got to go in the bedroom and talk to my dad. And he actually sent 2 gifts, which was amazing to me, a Rector set and, a race car track. And these were big deals for me.
Right.
And I'm like, geez, the world is just going in my freaking favor. This thing's come turning around.
Yeah.
And then my stepfather, who was really, struggling with alcoholism, just comes slamming in the door after we're all just getting ready to fall asleep and just drunk as hell, and throws a big scene, and the lights are on, and at that time this was really unconventional, but brings out some marijuana, and so now, we're at the age where they're all, say no to drugs, and turn your parents in.
Scary.
It was so super scary. So now I'm sitting there, and we're kind of, all the kids are the mothers are, to pay no attention to them, the wild man in the kitchen, and so then, that whole, he got kicked out of the house, and, all the kids kind of go, wow, what's that smell? And, we got to explain that. And so I was really felt really shamed, and felt, that this is bullshit,
Yeah.
And so the next day we see the last friends off, and I'm not sure if these friends are going to be able to play with me anymore. Right. And then, the next day comes around, and my stepfather and my mom and I all just have a simple dinner together, and we don't talk about it again. And so there was kind of, and there was some conversation around that of look, we do whitewater rafting trips. I take you skiing. I've just moved us here, and I'm the new lawyer in town, and this is, look what all I do. Right.
Look what I do for you kids.
Yeah. So, this whole kind of shit show scene that I just threw should be almost completely acceptable.
Right.
Look at your life. The love jar's full, guys. I'm giving it all. And it's no, it doesn't work like that, man.
No.
I'm not going to, I don't trust you the same way. And it's going to take a long time to recover from this. And you really just, shit on my whole new school system here school experience for me with all the friends. And you can't take that back. And so I don't, you can't just go, hey, little buddy, let's go skiing now tomorrow, and everything's going to be okay because, someone's being nice to you.
Right. It doesn't work that way. And I think that's why it's really difficult when there's such an upset as an infidelity in a relationship. Because even if there was, many years of a wonderful experience in a marriage, you have this giant upset, and it's very hard to weigh, was there enough in place to create this trust mattress or something that you can fall on, and it's a tough one, right?
But I do think that is back to the kind of brighter side of the love tank thing, right? Is I do think you stack some, mattresses. Right. I mean,
I see other people do it.
Right. I think that, and so, you won't fall as hard maybe by putting all that time in. Right. And it'll be easier to forgive, which is even, maybe not about fidelity, but like you said, a lot of people work through that. If you have really been mindful in a lot of different ways and been able to pay attention to your partner, you guys kind of did the rituals, relationship rituals. I don't know what they are, but everybody deserves to create their own. And it's a ceremony. You got to keep it up. Right. It doesn't, it's just like an athlete. You don't get to stop exercising.
No.
And just show out at the gym on, or in the game on Sunday. No, they got to work out all week.
Yeah.
To be the star on Sunday.
Right. And I think that, what's exciting about this conversation to me is, I'm taking these nuggets of information and I really want to practice, to have the opportunity to practice this with somebody because it makes sense, especially now that I'm not in a relationship. So I don't have anything to like try to add and subtract and keep score. It's like, okay, so I can start, when I have one, if I'm lucky enough to have one at some point, I like this concept. It's something doable. It's doable.
Yeah, it's like the easiest kind of. If you're gonna, it's the minimum. Like I said, it's bread and butter.
Yeah,
right. Just can put this in your, it's like bread and butter meaning like your basic work. Where do you get your overhead?
But isn't it funny? I think a lot of people don't do it.
I do. I think I forget it, and that's why I was excited to talk about it again because I really kind of needed to re-trigger it myself. Like I don't pay as much attention to it as I could, and I think we all could pay a little bit more attention to it. And keep it up and make it a fun part of our lives.
Touching is a good one.
Yeah, all that, physical touch is, big. And, like I said, taking walks, it's for some people, it's their thing, it's their jam, so they.
Right, it's my jam.
Is it?
Yeah,
right?
it really is. And honestly, in my last relationship, my 6 month, that was sweet. It was so sweet. And there's so many good things about it. But one of the things when we broke up that I said was, in 6 months, you took one walk with me. I take 2 walks a day, and I look for company on them. I take my dog and I look around, it's lovely. And I usually have a nice phone conversation, but it would fill me with so much love and joy. Even when a friend is visiting, I'll take a walk with you. Like even my dad, one day called me. He's like, "Listen, you still do those walks with your dog? I'm walking in the morning. Do you want to walk together?" And I was like, it hit me in the heart, So yeah, I don't think that there's anything outside of, it's whatever it is for you. And
what a win it would have been for him if he would have just kind of got on that clue for a minute. It wasn't your responsibility even, but just that had he got on it, that could have, created a whole new dynamic for sustainability. I asked him all the times.
Yeah.
Right. And he was like, and again, he was being stubborn going, this is an ask. It's, instead of like, whoa, this is a clue. And if I just actually go take a walk with her 3 times a week
versus an ask.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this isn't a burden. She's not trying to clue me in on all the other ways that she's not getting the love from me that I'm given. And I'm not happy about that, or all the ego shit, or the you're I can't make you happy still, kind of stuff.
Nothing makes you happy.
Yeah,
I've heard that before.
I've probably said it before.
Nothing makes you happy. And I'm thinking, like, really small things make me happy.
Exactly. And I know that the other person knows that there are things that make them happy. And so now as we kind of get through these experiences, I think now you see it as a clue and you're like, whoa, I said, throw me a bone, man. Give me some basics that I can just kind of keep up on so I'm not a complete idiot here. And then I'll see if I can get better at it from there.
You know what I like about this conversation? I feel like, I feel like I learned something in it, and I feel really energized by the information, and I can clearly see where it fits in a lot of, like you were saying, in a lot of different relationships.
Yeah, right. Not just to intimate partners.
No. Right? But I love it. What a cool.
My kids now, it makes me think, like you said, I'm kind of getting an aha moment about it too. I had not really even thought about the impact of it from my own childhood, from,
Right.
that experience that just kind of came back out of nowhere.
So cool.
And then I also see it about it with my kids, and I also see it about an experience with my kids. Sometimes when my kids go missing for a long time and they're coming back and asking for money or whatever, I'm like, the love tank over here isn't full enough for you to be coming over here
Yes.
and just asking, man. Like, I mean, I'm brutal about that, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
show me some love, because I'm your father and I'd like that.
Yeah.
And then, same applies for them. Dad, you invited me to do anything in a long time. Like, show me some love. And so
Right.
that sometimes I even forget that the most. And that's even more important for me to come out of this message, the show with is,
So interesting.
wow, I've got those kinds of, like I got that work to do with anyone that around me that I love in their own unique ways in order to continue to keep us sane and, and sustainable in our relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sane and sustainable.
I love that. I mean, really.
It's
'cause
it's so
sense.
simple.
Yeah.
And we overcomplicate things all the time as human beings. I do. I'll speak for me. I definitely do. And it really feels so much easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
a lot less fighting. I mean, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I've been in tumultuous relationships in the past, right? And there, Michelle and I were just talking about that, from our 10-day road trip. There could be plenty of times that we, by this time year in, and knowing each other much longer, but that we could be bickering, we could be jabbing at each other, we could be taking pokes, we could be, having an attitude, right? And you just kind of, when you're kind of getting your tank typically full, you're feeling pretty sane, but your own personal bad behavior just kind of wanes. At least I can speak for myself, right? And so you have, you're less likely to even have your own bad attitude come into a relationship because you're, just kind of, the love is going both ways, and so you respect the other person a little bit more than what you may have found yourself in other situations.
Yeah, I just had a sort of hippy dippy thought, maybe.
Yeah.
It might be in the #blessed category, but
Okay. I know how big of a fan you are of that. Yeah.
I think there's an element where we have to fill our own love tank as well, because it can't be relied. I mean, I think in a relationship, obviously, you're just, but with myself, it's really easy for me to, be super down on myself, especially during these COVID times where it's just like, oh my gosh, like day in, day out, and it's different and you can't do your regular things. And, it's easy. Everyone's slightly, I think we're all in some form of low-level depression, whether we realize it or not.
It's a systemic thing going on that we're all talking about. Yeah.
So, in order for me to be in a healthy relationship, I think I have to be filling my love tank. So even just, I was feeling really low, so I got out of town yesterday for the night, and that I needed that. And when I was driving back to Naples, I definitely felt filled up a little bit more. Like, it's the sky looks a little brighter today, and that I think that's really important. I think sometimes when we don't fill our own love tanks, even in a relationship, and it becomes the other person's responsibility, that does not create sanity.
Yeah, great point.
Right?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, that you can give me all the flowers and all the foot rubs, but if I'm not happy with myself, there's nothing you can do to fix that.
And I've seen that firsthand. I mean, guilty as charged again. Bummer. Bad news. And one of those is that, within, finances or whatever, any of us can get overwhelmed and stressed.
Yeah.
And we think that, that's ours to own. Right. And that, if we try not to burden everybody else with it, right. And just handle it and carry our own stress. And even if you can, still sneak in your little, love chips to your partner while you're in your own kind of stress, if you will, is one thing, one example. I have found that for my family, for the kids, and even Michelle's talked about this, one of the things that it was kind of a love gift for them was when I stopped being stressed. I mean, it was like, it's nice to have you back. Right? Like maybe,
that makes sense.
Like in some way, right? Just your
presence. Because they don't have to be walking around on eggshells.
And even if they're not getting the excited you. They're not getting the
heat that they love.
The heat that they love, I guess is what I'm trying to allude to, right? Yep. And so it's, I'm not saying hide it all and, all that. I just think I now get like, wow, the simplest act of just being mindful and showing up and for my children or my partner, or business partners or anybody, and being light and being, in the
and being
moment.
present.
And being present,
being
right?
present is
and
such
not
a big
carrying
thing.
all that weight on me and thinking, hey, this is my weight to carry, but I'm still here and I'm doing my job, aren't I? Right? It's like, well, no, Dad, you're not really doing your job because isn't that what we love about you?
Yeah, where
right?
are you, Dad? I don't know. This is some guy walking around that looks like our dad, but
exactly.
that's not our dad.
We're looking for him to come back. So that'd be a big love token for us.
Wow.
Let me know when that guy's going to show up, okay?
That's great.
And it's like,
oh my God.
Man,
that's a huge breakthrough. That's great. That's a really, really, really key one.
And a lot of times we're inclined to overcompensate. And so like when we're like, we don't see it as that. We miss that. There's a mixed message there where you're thinking, oh, they're just mad because we're not going on a vacation, or they're just mad because we're, they know I have to do this to pay for all this, right? Guys particularly can just go up in their heads and make all kinds of victim out of themselves and why their kids aren't appreciative, or their woman isn't appreciative, or their partner isn't appreciative, right? Whatever that is, right? But in the end, it's so simple once again. That, no, they're not looking. You can't come back out and go, oh, let's go do the big pizza night and let's do this and let's do that and everything's back to normal.
Right.
As a gesture, they're going to be looking at you and go, is it back to normal? Or you are coming even to do this as like in stress mode. You know what I mean? But, like now we're all supposed to be being taken care of now. And, it's like, no, why don't you just invite us over when you're not stressed and let's start there.
Right.
And then it's like, wow, that has also surprised me.
A huge
that there's no give other than filling your love tank for yourself, giving yourself good headspace, and bringing that positive headspace and integrity to the people you love that you don't think are looking for that, but they are. That's why they chose you, or that's why why they're in your life.
Right.
And so my kids and my partner deserves that.
That's so great. I love this.
Yeah,
I think this is
I feel it all this miserably, right? But I like getting more clued in on it because
Keith's face right now is so sweet. Like I think we both feel kind of like gooey.
It's kind of gone that way.
Yeah,
I thought we were going to come up with some more darkness on this.
I know. Well, I think there is dark. You told some pretty serious story, and it does bring up some dark memories, and I definitely have I have some cracks in my heart around feeling like I want my turn, I want that, and I'll get it.
Oh, you will.
I will.
Yeah. It's like they say, I think always it just drops in your lap usually when it's
time.
Yeah. I want it now.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
All
right. So I think we covered quite a bit here.
Right? I think so too. I feel really happy.
Okay, I do too. I'm actually feeling this kind of sense of happiness.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's nice.
Hope y'all do too.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Mixed messages.
Bye.
Mixed messages. Mixed messages. Mixed messages. Mixed messages. Messages.